Picture this. You've made the last mortgage payment, 30 years of work. The house is finally yours, except it isn't because every single year you still owe rent to the government. Miss a few of those payments, they take it back. The house you spent 3 decades paying off, gone just like that. But right now in 2025, 5 states are saying enough. They're not talking about reducing property taxes. They're not talking about caps or credits or relief. They're talking about elimination. Zero. Gone forever. And the state ranked #1 on this list. They've got an $11.5 billion war chest to make it happen. But first, let's start with the state where losing your home to property taxes isn't a threat. It's an epidemic. #5, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania in the fall. Rolling hills. Stone farmhouses that have been in families for generations. The kind of place where people put down roots and never leave unless the state takes their home first. 10,000. That's how many Pennians lose their homes every single year. Not because they couldn't pay their mortgage, because they couldn't pay their property taxes. 10,000 families every single year. Here's why Pennsylvania's stuck. Nearly half of all school funding comes from property taxes, one of the highest rates in the entire country. Kill the tax, you kill the schools. That's been the argument for decades. And for decades, nothing changed. Until 2025. Senator Don Keffer, Representative Wendy Frink, two legislators who decided enough is enough. Their bill, House Bill 1649, Senate Bill 962, doesn't reduce property taxes. It eliminates them completely for schools forever. The replacement, a 2% bump in sales tax. A small local income tax spread the burden across everyone, not just homeowners. Senator Keffer put it simply, no one should be one life event away from losing their home, one job loss, one medical bill, one bad year, and suddenly you're one of those 10,000. Quick thing, if you're finding this useful, hit subscribe. I break down housing and money news every week. No fluff, just the stuff that actually affects your wallet. All right, back to it. Pennsylvania is fighting an uphill battle. But the next state on our list, they're not asking permission anymore. Their governor just made property tax elimination his signature campaign promise, and he's got $51 billion in momentum behind him. #4, Texas. Texas. No state income tax, business-friendly, affordable housing. At least that's what everyone kept saying. People flooded in from California, from New York, from everywhere chasing that Texas dream, and then they opened their first property tax bill. See, Texas has a dirty little secret. No income tax sounds great until you realize that property taxes are how everything gets funded. Schools, roads, police, fire, all of it, straight from your home's value. The music average Texas home, $32,000, sounds reasonable, but the property tax rate's among the highest in the entire country. On a modest home, you could be paying $67,000, $8,000 a year every year forever. All those California transplants running from high taxes. Some of them did the math after they moved and realized they're paying just as much, just in a different line item. But here's where Texas is different. They didn't just complain about it, they did something. November 2025, voters approved Proposition 13 with 79% support. That's not a slim margin, that's a mandate. Homestead exemption jumped from $100,000 to $140,000. Seniors and disabled homeowners, $200,000. The average homeowner saves $484 this year on top of what they saved last year. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick put it bluntly, school taxes cut by almost 50%. And here's the kicker, the state has now spent $51 billion on property tax relief. $51 billion. No state in American history has ever done that. But here's the thing about relief. It's not elimination. Values keep rising. Tax bills keep coming. Even with $51 billion in cuts, Texans are still writing those checks every single year, still technically renting their homes from the government. Governor Greg Abbott looked at $51 billion in relief and said, not enough, we need to finish the job. His 2026 platform, eliminate school property taxes for homeowners entirely. Not reduce, not cap, eliminate. Put it on the ballot. Let voters decide if they want to make history. His words. Every single year, you keep saying property taxes are too high. We have to do more. And in Texas, when the governor says more, he means it. Texas is playing the long game, building momentum year after year. But the next state, they're not waiting. They're going straight to voters in 2026 with the most aggressive property tax elimination plan in America. And their governor, he's got some very strong opinions about what owning a home should actually mean. Number 3, Florida. Before we get into the numbers, I want you to hear something. This is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. You buy a home, you pay off the mortgage, and yet you still have to write a check to the government every year just for the privilege of living on your own private property. Is the property yours, or are you just renting it from the government? That's not some fringe opinion. That's the sitting governor of the third largest state in America. And he's not just talking, he's doing something about it. Right now, moving through the Florida legislature, there are 7 constitutional amendments and 1 bill, all aimed at one goal: reducing or eliminating property taxes for homeowners. 7 amendments. This isn't a pilot program, this is a full-scale assault. The big one, HJR 20. If passed, it would abolish all non-school property taxes on homesteads starting January 1st, 2027. Read that again. All non-school property taxes gone. On your primary residence, gone. There's one catch. These are constitutional amendments. They need 60% voter approval, not 51. 60. That's a high bar, but this is Florida, where voters have approved property tax measures before and where homeowners are fed up. Dantis posted it himself. Truly owning private property should not mean perpetually paying rent to the government. I'm committed to reducing and ultimately eliminating property taxes for homeowners in Florida. Now, here's where it gets complicated. Property taxes make up more than a third of Florida's state and local revenue. A third. We're talking about $14.1 billion in the first year alone, up to $18.3 billion in later years. That money pays for fire departments, police, roads, local services that people actually use every day. Critics say eliminating it would cause steep budget shortfalls almost overnight. And here's the twist nobody talks about. Realtor.com projects that if Florida eliminates property taxes, home values would jump 7 to 9%. Great if you already own, brutal if you're trying to buy. The very thing meant to help homeowners could price out the next generation. So Florida's facing a choice, a real choice. Eliminate the tax that makes homeowners feel like renters, or keep the system that funds the services everyone depends on. There's no clean answer, only a vote. And that vote is coming. 2026, Florida could become the first state in American history to eliminate property taxes. Or voters could say it's too risky. Florida's battle is playing out in the state house, politicians making moves, voters waiting to decide. But the next state on our list, this isn't about politicians at all. This is about regular people, homeowners who got so fed up, they started a movement to rewrite their state's constitution without permission from anyone. Number 2, Ohio. Beth Blacker wasn't an activist, wasn't a politician. She was just a homeowner in Ohio who did what millions of Americans do every year, opened her property tax bill, and what she saw made her hit the floor 51.9%. That's how much her assessed value jumped in 1 year. Not over a decade, 1 year. Her home didn't get 50% bigger. Her neighborhood didn't suddenly become Beverly Hills, but her tax bill through the roof. So Beth did something. She started talking to her neighbors, then their neighbors, then strangers online, and she found out she wasn't alone. Not even close. All across Ohio, people were opening bills with the same shock, the same anger, the same question. How is this legal? That anger became a movement. Citizens for Property Tax Reform, not funded by lobbyists, not organized by political parties, just regular Ohioans who decided if the politicians won't fix this, we'll do it ourselves. Their goal? A constitutional amendment to eliminate property taxes entirely. Take it straight to the ballot. Let the people decide. To get on the ballot, they need 413,000 signatures from registered Ohio voters by July 1st, 2025. That's not a suggestion. That's the law. Miss the deadline by one signature, and it's over. So far, they've collected over a H 100,000, a quarter of the way there. No TV ads, no billionaire backing, just people knocking on doors, standing outside grocery stores, asking their neighbors, "Are you tired of this too?" Not everyone's cheering them on. Governor DeWine has vetoed similar measures before. The state house has been debating property tax reforms, but nothing close to elimination. The political establishment looks at this movement and sees chaos. Critics call it reckless, absolute chaos. One lawmaker said no replacement plan, no clear funding for schools, for police, for fire departments, just elimination and figure out the rest later. But here's what the critics don't understand. These aren't people who woke up one day wanting to blow up the system. These are people who played by the rules for decades and watched the rules change on them. One supporter put it this way: the property tax is immoral. Private property is the foundation of a free society. The ability for the government to take away something you rightfully own, that's not ownership, that's permission. Ohio is proof that you don't need politicians to start a revolution. You just need enough people who've had enough. But our number one state, they've got something Ohio doesn't, something no other state has. An $11.5 billion fund built on oil and a brand new governor with a plan to use every penny of it to do what no state has ever done. Number one, North Dakota. North Dakota has something no other state has. Not a plan, not a promise. A war chest. $11.5 billion sitting in something called the Legacy Fund, built entirely from oil and gas tax revenue, and it's growing every single year. Last budget cycle alone, that fund generated over $600 million in earnings. Not the principal, just the earnings. That's money that can be spent without touching the $11 billion underneath. And North Dakota's new governor looked at that pile of cash and saw an opportunity no one else has. Governor Kelly Armstrong, Republican, took office in 2025, and in his very first State of the State address, he laid out the most aggressive property tax elimination plan any governor has ever proposed. He calls it the path to zero. Here's how it works. Step 1, double the existing primary residence credit from $500 to $1,000. Step 2, add $550 more from legacy fund earnings. That's $1,550 back in homeowners' pockets starting now. By 2027, at least $2,000, and it keeps growing from there. Armstrong's words, this will eliminate property taxes for an entire class of homeowners who need it most. And it will put the bulk of primary residences on a path to zero within the next decade. Not reduce, not cap, zero within 10 years. But here's the genius part. As the legacy fund grows, which it will because oil isn't going anywhere, it covers more and more of the cost. Eventually, the state's general fund doesn't pay a dime. The legacy fund handles everything. Property taxes eliminated without raising other taxes, without cutting services, without chaos. For people like Pat and Julie Odell, retirees in Bismarck paying over $3,000 a year in property taxes on a fixed income. This isn't abstract policy. It's the difference between keeping their home and losing it. Pat put it simply, there's a lot of people in a lot worse shape than I am. Now, to be fair, North Dakota voters rejected full property tax elimination just last year, 70 to 30. It wasn't close, but that measure had no replacement plan, no funding mechanism. Just eliminate it and figure it out later. Armstrong's plan is different. The money is already there. The path is already mapped. If any state in America is going to eliminate property taxes first, actually do it, not just talk about it. It's going to be North Dakota. They've got the money, they've got the plan, they've got a governor who made it his mission. The only question left is how fast can they get there? 5 states, 5 different approaches. Pennsylvania fighting foreclosures, Texas spending billions, Florida heading to the ballot, Ohio gathering signatures at grocery stores, and North Dakota sitting on $1 billion oil fund with a plan to use it. The question isn't whether property taxes will be eliminated somewhere. It's where and when. Which of these five do you think crosses the finish line first? Drop it in the comments. If this was useful, hit subscribe. I break down housing and money news every week. And if you want to know which states have the lowest property taxes right now, not zero, but close, I made a video on that too. Links on screen. I'll see you in the next